the February 25th, 2025 Council Planning Public Meeting. Members of the public may watch or participate in this open meeting using any of the following methods. Somebody not on video, take the video off, audio.
Yeah, I'm off now.
Okay, thank you. You can attend in person in the North Dumfries room at North Dumfries Community Complex, located at 2958 Greenfield Road. You can attend electronically to observe the meeting or to speak to an item on the agenda by registering with the Clerk's Division. You can also watch the live stream by accessing the meeting on the Township's YouTube page. The live stream is for viewing only and not for direct participation. Also, written comments to the clerk's office in advance of the meeting as correspondence were provided to the mayor and council prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank everyone for attending this evening. We appreciate your participation. As we come together to serve the community, I ask that we create a welcoming and positive environment. Everyone that includes respect, that we listen to each other with care, speak thoughtfully, and engage kindly with one another. Kindness, that we treat everyone, council, staff, and the public with the respect and understanding. That we inclusion, that we embrace diverse perspectives and respect each other's opinions. Together we can make this meeting space one where respect, kindness, and inclusion are at the heart of everything we do. Behavior that is disrespectful, disruptive, aggressive, or intimidating will result in individuals being asked to leave. I'd now like to call the meeting to order, please. Councilor Austin, please.
Move on myself, second by Councilor Tilley, that council adopt the February 25th, 2025 Council Planning Public Meeting agenda as presented with the following addendum. 1, add correspondence received for item 651, PD report number 0820 20205. Minor various applications A0125 14 Queen Street, Branston. Add correspondence received for item 711 report PD 11/2025 proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 1821 to 1835 Whistle Bear Road. File number is ZC0322. Add correspondence received for item 712 report number PD 09/2025. Proposed zoning bylaw amendment for plan 663 part lot 1, RP 67, R17, 18 BTS 1, 6, and 7, PT Myth River, file number ZC0125.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'd now like to do the Indigenous acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Mutual people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples of Canada. And if we really reflect and really look, we will find that each and every one of us came to this land through ancestors from another part of the world. And our coming together created a nation called Canada. And we respected each other's diversity, and that's what made us great. And that is what makes us great. And the Indigenous welcomed us. They welcomed us to this land. They opened their arms to us. And history has somehow evolved in not always the most positive way. But if we can remember or reach back to our roots and find out what it felt like to be an immigrant in a strange land and to be welcomed by our Indigenous partners and the respect they gave us. I've always told people in Canada, you're respected first and you have to lose that respect. And they respected us first. They taught us. Let's reflect on them. Thank you. Is there any discussion of beginning or interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. Motion to sit as committee of adjustment. Councilor Tony, please.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Ossner, The council meeting adjourned at 6:05 p.m. to sit as committee of adjustment for the purpose of holding public meetings pursuant to the provisions of the planning act.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Now I'd like to call the meeting to order. Council Holman, please, approval of the agenda.
Moved by myself and by Council Wilms that committee adopt the February 25th, 2025 Committee of Adjustment Agenda as presented.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature of any of these items? Thank you. Previous minutes, Council Holmes, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Rod Rollman, that committee of adjustment approved the meeting minutes dated January 27, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Six point five, hearing public meeting, minor variance consent application. 6.5.1, report number PD 08-2025, minor variance application for 14 Queen Street, file number A-01/25. Notice has been given in accordance with the planning act. Before I start, there's a sign-in sheet at the back, I believe, Christina. So if you're here on a specific item, please sign under that item so that any further correspondence, we will reach out to you and keep you updated. Notice has been given in accordance with the planning act. The Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the Clerk's Department to request notice of decision, and that's that paper back. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings on this application. There is a sign-in sheet at the table at the back of the meeting to complete, and those who wish future notice related to this file. Christina Glasanovic, planner, IGIS technician, will present this application. Christina, please.
Thank you, Madam. The following presentations for minor variance application A01/25 for the property located at 14 Queen Street. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal, to solicit comments, and identify issues or matters to be assessed by staff. The property is located on the east side of Queen Street, south of Victoria Street, and north of Albert Street in the Branston settlement area. The property consists of a two-story single detached dwelling and accessory buildings. This property is approximately a half acre in size with a lot frontage of 36 meters onto Queen Street, and surrounding land uses are primarily rural residential. The property is zoned Z3 rural residential and designated settlement residential and ancillary in the Township of Bishopton. The owner proposes to facilitate the construction of a detached garage adjacent the principal dwelling with a new driveway access. The garage will be 7.31 meters by 9.75 meters in size with a total area of approximately 71.4 meters squared. The proposed building height of the accessory garage will be 5.23 meters and will slightly exceed the maximum permitted building height. The subject property currently contains 3 accessory buildings. With the addition of the proposed garage, the total floor area of all accessory buildings will exceed the maximum lot coverage of 4% permitted by the general zoning bylaw. Of the 3 existing accessory buildings, one is currently located closer to the property line than permitted, and another is located between the principal dwelling and the northern property line within the required side yard setback for the principal dwelling. As part of this application, the owner is seeking additional variances to address these existing non-compliances and bring the property into conformity with the zoning bylaw. The owner is requesting the following minor variances. Section 6.4.1 establishes that no person shall erect any accessory building within a required side yard. The owner seeks relief from this provision to permit an existing accessory building along the northern property line to be located within the required side yard setback of the principal dwelling and have a setback of 1.1 meters. Section 6.4.2 establishes that no person shall erect any accessory building closer than 1 meter from any interior lot line. The owner seeks relief from this provision to permit an existing accessory building to have a setback of 0.5 meters. Section 8.3.7a permits a maximum floor area of 4% for all accessory buildings located on the property. The owner seeks relief from this provision to permit a maximum floor area of 5.2% for all accessory buildings. And lastly, section 8.3.7b permits a maximum building height of 5.2 meters for accessory buildings. The owner seeks relief from this provision to permit a building height of 5.23 meters for the proposed detached garage. The photo on the screen is a view of the subject property from Queen Street. The area in green is an approximate location of the proposed detached garage. To the left is the principal dwelling, and to the rear are two of the existing accessory buildings, one of which is seeking a reduced setback. This photo on the screen is a view of the north side of the property from Queen Street. As you can see, there is an existing accessory building located within the required side yard setback for the principal dwelling. One piece of correspondence has been received this morning from the adjacent property located at 1644 Branchton Road. The resident has advised that their property experiences drainage issues, and they are requesting further review of the proposed development and the potential impact of drainage on the property. Planning staff will follow up with the Township's Engineering and Public Works Department after the public meeting to further review the proposed development and concerns raised by the adjacent property owner prior to bring forward a recommendation. At this time, there have been no concerns received from any agencies, and planning staff are still awaiting comments from some agencies. Staff recommend that all comments and correspondence received from members of the public and government agencies through the consultation process be returned to staff for a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter. Staff will be considering matters including all comments and correspondence received and whether the development meets the criteria of the four tests. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Excuse me. Does the applicant or the applicant's agent wish to make a comment at this time?
No.
Okay, thank you. And does any member of the public wish to make any comments? Seeing none. Councilors, any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please, Councilor Rossner?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor or Scott Tilley. That report, PD 08-2025 be received for information. All comments and correspondence received through the consultation process being returned to staff for consideration of future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Reports and recommendation minor variance at 838, variance and consent application 6.6.1. Report number PD 10-2025, minor variance application for 20 McRae Street, file number A-13/24 and A-14/24. Notices have been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the Clerk's Department to request a notice of decision. These individuals will be notified of the decision on the convening of any future meetings on this application. Brock Linklater, Senior Planner, will present this application. Brock, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, and members of the public. Following presentation has been prepared to share planning staff's recommendations for minor variance applications A-13/24 and A-14/24, which relate to 20 McRae Street, legal lots 27 and 30. These applications were consolidated into one report as they are interrelated. To set the context for these applications, the subject lands are currently have one municipal address. However, the lands are legally recognized as two separate legal lots number 27 and 30, which have been developed and used as a single residential parcel. These two legal lots of record were established by a pre-existing plan of subdivision, Plan 552, which predated the Planning Act and subdivision control in Ontario. Council officially recognized Plan 552 as a registered plan of subdivision at the August 12th, 2024 council meeting, confirming the existence of these separate property identification numbers or PINs. Further, the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, or MPAC, provided confirmation that these lots now have their own taxable roll number. Therefore, a consent application was not required for this proposed development. On this slide, you can see a copy of Plan 552 with the existing 20 McRae Street address highlighted in red. Lots 27 and 30 can be seen within this highlighted area. Subject property is located on the north side of McRae Street at the corner of McRae Street and Butte Street in urban air. The land is zoned Z4 urban residential and designated urban residential and ancillary in the township official plan. Surrounding land uses are primarily residential, however, there is a storage facility located adjacent to the property at the rear that is zoned industrial. The subject lands are comprised of two separate lots, as noted, legal lots 27 and 30. The two lots of record have the following dimensions. Lot 27, identified with application number A1324, can be seen on the right-hand side of the screen. The lot has a lot frontage of 15.44 meters on McCray Street, a lot depth of 32.61 meters, and a lot area of 502.36 meters squared. The lot contains a two-story single attached dwelling, which will remain. Lot 30, identified with application number 81424, can be seen on the left-hand side of the screen. This lot has a lot frontage of 14.97 meters on the McCray Street, a lot depth of 32.61 meters, and a lot area of 498.15 meters squared. An accessory garage and wooden pergola previously existed on this lot. However, the garage and pergola were removed from the site under demolition permit to create space for the proposed single attached dwelling and coach house dwelling. Therefore, the lot is currently vacant. This is a photo taken from Cray Street showing the frontage of lots 27 and 30. The red area shown on the left side of the image represents the approximate orientation of lot 30, while the green area represents lot 27. As you can see from this photo, the accessory garage and pergola have been removed from lot 30. Two minor variance applications have been submitted to recognize the existence of two separate lots of record and to facilitate the development of a new single attached dwelling and detached coach house unit. Minor variance application A1324 is associated with lot number 27, containing the two-story single attached existing dwelling. The requested variances are necessary to recognize the location of the existing dwelling on lot 27 relative to the lot line which separates the two lots. Minor variance A1424 related to lot number 30, where the new single attached dwelling and coach house are proposed. The requested variances are recognize the existing deficient lot size, as well as variances related to the proposed location of the single attached dwelling, proposed coach house, and the width and depth of the width of the proposed parking area. A number of these variances, such as the proposed relief for lot width and lot area, are considered legal non-conforming due to the creation of these legal lots predating the Planning Act and therefore general zoning bylaw number 689/83. Photo on the top left of your screen shows a view of lot number 30 from McCray Street, and figure 8 on the bottom left shows a view of lot number 30 from Food Street. On the right side of the screen on figures 9 and 10, you can see the submitted front elevation floor plan layout for the proposed coach house dwelling, which will be located at the rear of lot number 30. Moving on to the details of the requested minor variances. For minor variance application E1324, containing the existing dwelling, the requested variances from the zoning bylaw are as follows. Seeking relief from section 6.10.4A of the bylaw to permit the building line to be 0.1 meters from the front lot line, whereas the zoning requirement is 7.5 meters. Seeking relief from section 8.3.1 to permit a reduced lot area of 502.36 meters squared, whereas the zoning requirement is 700 square meters. Relief from section 8.3.2 to permit a reduced lot width of 15.44 meters, whereas the zoning requirement is 18 meters. And relief from section 8.3.3B to permit a side yard setback of 0.5 meters from the existing covered porch, whereas the zoning requirement for a two-story dwelling is 2.4 meters. A site visit was conducted on November 7th, and the photo on the bottom of the screen is a full view of the full 20 McCray Street frontage as it currently exists. The photo on the right side of the screen displays the existing residential dwelling on lot number 27, which will remain. Moving on to minor variance application E1424 for legal lot number 30. It should be noted that an additional variance has been identified that was not originally highlighted during the first public meeting. Through correspondence with the township's planning and building departments and the applicant, it has been determined that the applicants intend to construct with the principal dwelling and coach house dwelling simultaneously. This creates a potential situation where the coach house finishes construction prior to the principal dwelling. This would result in the development not being in compliance with section 6.40.2 of the zoning bylaw, which establishes that a coach house shall only be permitted if it is associated with a single detached dwelling on the lot. To rectify this potential situation, a new variance has been added to permit the coach house to temporarily exist on the property without a principal dwelling. Therefore, the requested variances for minor variance application A1424 are as follows. Seeking relief from section 6.6.1 to permit the principal dwelling to be located within 15-meter corner lot visibility triangle, whereas the bylaw does not allow for new structures within this area. Sections relief from section 6.10.4A to permit a front building line setback of 0.5 meters, whereas the requirement is 7.5 meters. Relief from section 6.10.4B to permit a flankage yard setback of 3.13 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum flankage yard of 6 meters. Relief from section 6.13.6 II to permit a driveway width of 9.0 meters, whereas this section permits a maximum driveway width of 6.1 meters. Relief from section 6.40.2, which establishes that a coach house shall only be permitted in association with a single detached dwelling. Due to construction timelines, the proposed coach house may be the sole dwelling on the property upon completion of the new principal dwelling. The existing dwelling will be reclassified as a coach house that is associated with the new single detached dwelling. Relief from section 6.40.5, which establishes that a lot containing a coach house must have a minimum width of 16 meters, depth of 40 meters, and an area of 640 meters squared. The applicant is seeking relief to permit a 14.97 meter lot width, 32.61 meter lot depth, and a lot area of 498.15 square meters. Relief from section 6.40.7 I of the bylaw to permit a coach house footprint that was 52.8% of the principal dwelling's footprint, whereas the requirement is 40%. Relief from section 6.40.14, which establishes that for a lot that contains a coach house unit, the maximum permitted driveway width shall be 6.1 meters. The applicant is requesting a driveway width of 9 meters. Relief from section 8.3.1 of the bylaw to permit a lot area of 498.15 square meters, whereas the bylaw requires 700 square meters. And relief from section 8.3.2 of the bylaw to permit a width of 14.97 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a lot width of 18 meters. There has been one comment provided from the adjacent condominium development, 50 Butte Street. The president of the condominium board had noted that residents have concerns regarding reduced visibility at the intersection of McCray and Butte Streets, resulting from the proposed dwelling encroaching into the 15-meter corner visibility triangle, as well as concerns regarding pedestrian safety from the increased vehicular traffic at the intersection created from the proposed development, including with the request to install 2 additional stop signs at the intersection, effectively making a 4-way stop. Staff have reviewed the received public correspondence and have determined that the development will not have negative impacts on visibility and pedestrian safety, and therefore a new 4-way stop at the McCray intersection is not deemed to be necessary at this time. Looking at the agency correspondence, the Township Engineering and Public Works Department has no objection to the proposal. The Township Engineering and Public Works Department reviewed grading plans that were submitted for both properties that demonstrated site drainage and are satisfied for the application to move forward. For the building department, it was requested that the side yard setback and front yard setback incorporate any overhang of the buildings. After meeting with the applicant and the applicant's designer, it was confirmed that these setbacks did include this overhang, and that the building department is satisfied with the application to move forward. There are no comments or objections from the Township Fire Department, Region Waterloo, GRCA, or Waterloo Region District School Board. And Waterloo Catholic District School Board has no objections to the proposed applications, just noting that the education development charges will be collected prior to issuance of building permit. Planning staff are of the opinion that the requested variance to permit a reduced front yard setback for the retained lot and a reduced lot frontage and lot area for the severed lot meet the 4 tests of a minor variance. Proposed development adheres to the permitted uses for the C4 zone and is consistent with the bylaw's intent. The need for these variances are largely due to the pre-existing non-conforming lots, and granting relief allows for reasonable development while respecting the overall character of the neighborhood. So the second test is do the proposed variances follow the general intent and purpose of the official plan? If the official plan encourages residential uses within the township's urban area, and the requested variances for both lots will assist in creating new residential units within the urban area. For the third test, are the variants desirable for the appropriate development of the land? Staff view that the proposed development is desirable and appropriate. The development aligns with provincial policies encouraging diverse housing options and directs residential development to a settlement area. And the proposed development will be compatible with the surrounding residential character. The minor variances are minor in nature in staff's opinion, as the variances will allow for the lot to accommodate a residential dwelling with sufficient parking and amenity space while maintaining the character of the surrounding area. Reductions to yard setbacks and requested increase in the size of the proposed coach house are primarily necessitated by the existing lot sizes and location of the existing dwelling. The request to permit the temporary existence of the coach house is also considered minor, as it is only temporary and still meets the intent of the official plan. Based on the foregoing analysis, planning staff recommend that minor variance applications 81324 for 20 McCray Street be approved, subject to the following condition, which is listed in the recommendation section of report number PD 1025, which states that the owner shall register an encroachment agreement on title for the subject property, acknowledging the location of the front stairs that encroach onto the municipal right of way. The owner must provide confirmation that the encroachment agreement has been registered on title once completed, and that minor variance application 81424 for 20 McCray Street, lot 30, be approved with no conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brock. Does the applicant or the owner wish to make any comments? Any comments from members of the public? Any questions from council? Councilor Tilly, you have a very long motion. I'm so glad you practiced last night.
That's good.
So carry on, sir.
Thank you. Moved by myself, second by Derek Ostner, that PD report number 10/2025 be received for information. And that minor variance application A 13/2020 one more time, 24, being request for A, relief from section 6.10.4 A of general zoning bylaw 89-83, which establishes that building lines shall be minimum of 7.5 meters from the front of the lot line. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to recognize the existing building line setback of 0.1 meters. Relief from the section B, relief from section 8.3.1 of the general zoning bylaw 89-83, which establishes that the minimum lot area shall be 700 meters squared. This applicant is seeking relief of this provision to recognize that the existing lot area is 502.36 meters squared. C, relief from section 8.3.2 of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes the minimum lot width shall be 18 meters. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to recognize the existing lot width of 15.44 meters. D, relief from section 8.3.3 B of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes that the minimum side yard setback of a two-story dwelling shall be 2.4 meters. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to permit a side yard setback of 0.5 meters from the existing covered porch situated adjacent to the west lot line. Be approved subject to the following condition. One, that the owner registered a encroachment agreement on the title of the subject property that acknowledges the portion of the front stairs that encroaches onto the municipal right of way. The owner must provide this confirmation that the encroachment agreement has been registered on title once completed. 3, and that minor variance application A-14/24 being requested for A, relief from section 6.6.1 of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes that no structures shall be located within the 15-meter corner lot visibility triangle. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to permit the proposed dwelling to be located within the corner visibility triangle. B, relief from section 6.10.4A of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes the building line shall be a minimum of 7.5 meters from the front lot line. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to permit a building setback of 0.5 meters.
Page
C.
two.
Seeking relief from section 10.4 B of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes the flank yard setback shall be a minimum of 6.0 meters. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to permit a flankage yard setback of 3.13 meters. Relief from section 6.13 .62 of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes that for the lot containing a single detached dwelling, the minimum driveway width shall be 6.1 meters. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to permit a driveway with a width of 9.0 meters. C, relief from section 6.40.2 of general zoning bylaw 689-3, which establishes the coach house shall only be permitted within a zone association with a single detached dwelling. The applicant is seeking temporary relief from this provision as due to construction timelines. The proposed coach house may be the sole dwelling on the property until the point that the new principal dwelling is completed. Once the principal dwelling is completed, the second dwelling unit will be recognized as the coach house in association with the new single detached dwelling. F, relief from section 6.40.5 of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes the lot containing a coach house must be a minimum 1 meter lot width, 40 meters lot width, and 640 meters squared lot area. The applicant is seeking relief to permit a 14.97 meter lot width, a 32.61 meter lot depth, and a lot area of 498.15 meters squared. Relief from section 6.4.71 for I of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes the coach house footprint must not exceed 40% of the principal dwelling footprint. The applicant is seeking relief to permit a coach house footprint that is 52.8% of the principal dwelling's footprints. H, establishes relief from section 6.40.14 of general zoning bylaw 689.83, which establishes that for a lot containing a coach house unit, the maximum driveway width shall be 6.1 meters. Applicant is seeking relief from this driveway width shall be 6.1 meters. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to permit a driveway width of 9 meters. I, relief from section 8.3.1 of general zoning bylaw 689-83, which establishes the minimum lot area shall be 700 meters squared. The applicant is seeking relief from the recognized existing lot area 498.15 meters squared. Relief from this, and then J, relief from section 8.3.2 of general zoning bylaw of 689.83, which establishes the minimum lot area shall be 18 meters. The applicant is seeking relief to recognize the existing lot width of 14.97 meters.
Thank you, Councillor Tully.
My pleasure.
All those in favor?
Say no.
That's carried. Thank you. Next is 6.6.2, report number PD 12/2025, minor variance application for 480 Wadham Drive, file number A-16/24. Notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the Police Department to request a notice of decision. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of any future meetings on this application. Michael Campos, Manager of Planning, will present this application. Michael, please.
Madam Mayor, good evening, to Madam Mayor, members of council, senior staff, members of the public. I'm here this evening to present staff's recommendation on the minor variance application submitted for 480 Wadham Drive, application number A-16/24. Subject property is located on Wadham Drive and within an existing employment area immediately north of Highway 401, south of Roseville Road and east of Industrial Road. The property is an irregularly shaped lot, providing a total area of 2.58 hectares and a corresponding lot frontage of 122 meters onto Wadham Drive. Presently, the property is occupied with one industrial building that is operated by FedEx as a freight facility. Surrounding land uses generally include industrial related uses along Wadham Drive and agricultural properties to the immediate north. The property is designated as Highway 401, Regional Road 97 employment area under map 2 and dry industrial commercial under map 2.27 of the township official plan. The township zoning bylaw zones the property Z11 industrial in its entirety. And the purpose of the proposed minor variance application is to seek relief from two provisions of the township zoning bylaw. The first is to recognize the existing built condition of a non-compliant parking area located in front of the established building line, which can be referenced in the image provided in the lower left portion of your screen. Additionally, the application seeks relief from the zoning bylaw to permit the construction of lift gates and bollard structures in front of the established building line, which is identified on the site plan image within the red circles. The proposed application has been submitted simultaneously with a site plan application that is proposing several exterior improvements to the site to better increase security measures for the FedEx operation. In addition to the lift gates and the bollards proposed, the site plan application proposes exterior upgrades that encompass landscaping, grading, fencing, and paving works. And so in order to facilitate the additional security improvements and to recognize the existing built condition of the parking area within the front yard of the property, the minor variance application seeks relief from the following two provisions of the zoning bylaw. First, section 6.5.1 of the township zoning bylaw, which prohibits structures between the street line and the established building line. Our zoning bylaw defines structure as anything constructed or erected, the use of which requires location on or in the ground, or an attachment to something having location on the ground. Therefore, in order to permit the lift gates and bollards for additional security measures within the front yard of the property, a variance to this provision to permit these structures is required. And then secondly, section 6.13.1b of the township zoning bylaw requires that all off-street parking areas be located behind the building line. And currently, the property features a paved parking area within the front yard, which does not comply with this provision of the bylaw. And so the proposed variance seeks to resolve this non-compliance by legally recognizing the existing condition through a variance approval. No other variances are being requested through this application. Staff have not received any public correspondence with respect to the proposed application. Regarding agency correspondence received through the circulation review period, there have been no concerns or objections from our engineering and public works department, the Grandbridge Energy, Township Fire Department, Ministry of Transportation, the Waterloo Regional District School Board, or the Grand River Conservation Authority. The building department had noted that confirmation would be required that the location of the lift gates does not impact truck staging within the limits of the lot. And have also noted that trucks cannot overhang into the drivable portion of William Drive, thereby impeding traffic. So in response to this comment, planning staff requested that the applicant prepare a truck turning diagram that illustrates the location of a transport truck when it is in the process of entering the site while waiting for the lift gates to rise. And the diagram confirmed that a full transport truck waiting to enter the site at the lift gate will not overhang into the travel portion of William Drive. And so therefore, all staff and agency concerns have been successfully addressed. Planning staff have reviewed the proposed variances through the lens of the 4 tests for a minor variance and are of the opinion that both variances successfully meet the criteria of the 4 tests. With respect to the first variance being a request to seek relief from section 6.5.1 of the zoning bylaw, staff are of the opinion that the variance meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan. As the site will continue to accommodate employment and industrial uses on site, there are no uses proposed that are inconsistent with the permissions of the official plan and the designation that's applied to these lands. The proposed variance meets the general intent and purpose of the bylaw, which is to ensure that uses permitted under the Z11 industrial zone operate in accordance with the minimum provisions of the zone. The variance will allow minor security structures to be installed that will not negatively impact the site, the roadway, or the surrounding properties. While the bylaw prohibits structures in front of the building line to maintain setbacks and sight lines, the proposed structures continue to align with these objectives and will not create adverse impacts on the subject property. The variance is desirable for the property as the installation of the bollards are required to provide physical protection of the fire water cistern on the property. Therefore, it is considered a critical item for fire safety and site security. And the lift gates will replace the existing sliding chain link gate that is presently located on the property, enhancing the street frontage aesthetic while maintaining site security. And finally, the proposed variance is considered minor in nature as these proposed structures do not adversely affect the property, the neighboring industrial properties, or the roadway, and will actually enhance the site visually while safeguarding key infrastructure on site. And staff are of the opinion that the second variance, being a variance to seek relief from the zoning bylaw to permit an existing non-compliant parking area in front of the established building line, meets the 4 tests of a minor variance as follows. Similarly to the first variance, this variance meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan as the proposal continues to align with employment and industrial policies of the existing dry industrial commercial designation. The proposed variance continues to meet the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, as it recognizes an existing parking area that has been in place for several years and is consistent with other industrial properties along Wayland Drive. It will continue to function as it has historically, and the general intent and purpose of the bylaw is that an appropriate number of parking spaces are provided for the existing use, which the site successfully complies with. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed variance is desirable for the property, as this variance aims to recognize an existing condition on the property that aligns with other industrial lots along Wayland Drive.
Yeah.
The current site layout, which has been in place for several years, will continue to operate without causing any negative impacts on the subject property, its surrounding properties, or the roadway. And as a result, it's the opinion of staff that recognizing the existing parking area is the most desirable option for the property. And finally, staff are of the opinion that the proposed variance is minor in nature, as this is considered a technical variance intended to recognize the existing built condition of the industrial property, which aligns with other industrial properties along Wayland Drive. And there are no significant changes proposed to this existing parking area that would raise concerns or negatively impact the roadway or surrounding properties. And so given the technical nature of this variance, staff consider this to be minor. It is therefore staff's recommendation of the Committee of Adjustment that PD report number 12-2025 be received, and that minor variance application A16/24 being a request to permit relief from section 6.5.1 and section 6.13.1B of general zoning bylaw number 689-83 be approved. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. The applicant, or the owner wish to make any comments at this time?
No, thank you.
Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, councillors and Madam Mayor. No further comments from me, but I am here to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you. So any comments from the public? Councillors, any comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please, Councillor Wilman?
Moved by myself, by Councillor Wilms, that PD report number 12-2025 be received. And then minor variance application A-1624 being requested to permit A, relief from section 6.5.1 of general zoning bylaw number 689-83, which prohibits structures to be located between the street line and the established building line. The applicant is seeking relief from this provision to permit the installation of lift gates and bollards to enhance on-site security. And B, relief from section 6.13.1D of general zoning bylaw number 689-83, which requires all off-street parking areas to be located behind the building line. Current property currently has a paved parking area in the front yard that does not comply with this provision. Proposed variance seeks to recognize the existing condition and permit parking area as is currently built.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, 6.6.3, report number PB-13-2025, consent and minor variance application for 1392 Wrigley Road, file number B-07/21 and A-12/21. Notice has been given, you can say this along with me, you must know that by heart now. Notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the Clerk's Department to request a notice of decision. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of any future meetings on this application. Michael Campos, Manager, Planning, will present the report. Michael, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present you staff's recommendation report on consent and minor variance applications received for 1392 Wrigley Road, file numbers B-07/21 and A-12/21. Subject property is located on the north side of Wrigley Road between Reedsville Road and Dumfries Road. 1392 Wrigley Road provides a total lot frontage onto Wrigley Road of 42.7 meters, which is split between two sections that straddles the property municipally known as 1402 Wrigley Road. The longest stretch of frontage is 30 meters, while the shorter stretch is 12.6 meters. The subject property consists of one single detached residential dwelling and an accessory structure, as well as agricultural, forested, and wetland areas. Surrounding the subject property are primarily agricultural and rural residential lots. And the subject property is subject to multiple designations under the Township official plan, including settlement, residential and ancillary, rural area, and protected countryside. The property is split zone Z1 agriculture, which reflects the lands within the rural area and protected countryside designations, and Z3 rural residential, which reflects the lands within the settlement area. So to provide some context, this application has some history in front of the committee, as there have been multiple proposals and lot configurations that have been presented in the past for consideration. In February of 2021, the applicant submitted a combined consent and minor variance application to create a new lot. The proposed lot at the time was flag shaped and extended from Wrigley Road to the maximum extent of the rural settlement area, and further extended to the west to the rear of 1412 and 1420 Wrigley Road. These applications for consent and minor variance were denied by the Committee of Adjustment in August of 2021. In October of 2021, the applicant submitted an updated consent and minor variance application, which proposed a rectangular lot configuration. And through the review process, the applicant made the decision to revise their application to resemble the previous flag-shaped lot configuration that had been denied 2 months prior. A recommendation report on the application was never brought forward to the committee for a decision. And further discussions have taken place over the last 3 years between staff and the applicant, and has concluded with an updated application for consent that reflects a slightly new lot configuration, which is being presented today. The applicant is proposing the creation of a rectangular shaped lot comprising of a lot frontage of 30 meters onto Wrigley Road and a depth of 135.6 meters. This proposed lot can generally be compared to the existing lot at 1382 Wrigley Road. The proposal intends to create a lot that will both partially be located within the rural settlement area and outside of the settlement area within the rural countryside. The majority of the lot area would be located within the rural settlement area and would be capable of accommodating the future development of a single detached dwelling, along with any accessory structures. The portion of the proposed lot to be outside of the rural settlement area is proposed to accommodate the future required septic system for a dwelling on the property. Should the proposed lot be created, the retained lot, being 1392 Wrigley Road, will have one remaining access to Wrigley Road, which is located to the east of 1402 Wrigley Road and is approximately 12.6 meters away. As a result of the proposed creation of a residential lot that will occupy the existing 30-meter frontage onto Wrigley Road, the applicant was required to submit a minor variance application to seek relief from the township zoning bylaw to permit a reduced minimum lot width of 12.6 meters for the retained lot, whereas a minimum lot width of 30 meters is required. The 12.6 meter frontage is located between 1382 Wrigley Road and 1402 Wrigley Road and is currently being used as the access to the subject property. The following slide provides 2 images of the proposed lot. Figure 1 is a view of the subject property where the lot frontage of the proposed lot would be located. And the white arrow is a general identification of the length of the proposed lot. Figure 2 provides a closer view of the proposed lot being adjacent to the existing property at 1412 Wrigley Road. And this photo actually shows the previous driveway that provided access to the subject property. This access has since been closed and the applicant has been using the 12.6 meter lot frontage further east as their access to the property. Figure 3 identifies the proposed residential lot when facing Wrigley Road. And similarly, figure 4 shows the proposed residential lot when facing the retained lot. Planning staff have not received any formal comments on the revised consent application from any members of the public. Regarding the agency correspondence received through circulation review period, planning staff can confirm that all comments received have been successfully addressed. There are no outstanding matters to be addressed as it relates to staff and agency comments. Township planning staff recommend approval of the consent and minor variance applications as the proposal represents good planning, is consistent with policy direction, and aligns with the township's goals for growth and development. The proposed lot will be partially within the Wrigley settlement area where residential development is encouraged. The proposed dwelling will be located entirely within the settlement area, while the rural portion will be used for a septic system and accessory purposes. Similar lot configurations exist in the area, establishing a precedent for this type of development. While the region of Waterloo does not support the application, township staff interpret the policy differently and do not consider this to be an expansion of the settlement area. As of January 1st, 2025, policy enforcement shifts to the township, allowing for a localized approach to decision making. The application has been reviewed for servicing feasibility. A hydrogeological study confirms the lot can support a 2-bedroom home with a conventional wastewater system, ensuring no impact on surrounding properties. The proposed minor variance to reduce lot frontage is considered minor and appropriate, as the remaining frontage has long served as the property's main access. And given that the proposal is consistent with the provincial, regional, and township policy frameworks, represents appropriate infill development, and has received no objections from the public, staff recommend approval. It is therefore staff's recommendation of the Committee of Adjustment that consent application file number B 7/21 and minor variance application A 6/21 be approved, subject to the applicable conditions as identified in staff's recommendation report. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Michael. Is there, the owner applicant wish to say anything?
No.
Okay, and, any members of the public wish to speak on this issue? Questions of council? This has been a long time coming. I don't want to jinx it till I sign it. The motion is lengthy, actually, Councillor Williams, I even think you're going to outdo Councillor Tilly tonight,
You can do it.
but, you're on.
Moved by myself, seconded by Ron Holman, that PD report number 13-2025 be received, and that consent application B 7/21 being request to set the property at 1392 Wrigley Road to create one new residential lot with approximately 30 meters of frontage onto Wrigley Road and corresponding lot area of 0.4 hectares, 1 acre in size, be approved, subject to the following conditions. A, that a reference plan be prepared by an interior land surveyor as illustrating the new proposed lot lines to the satisfaction of the Township of North Dumfries. B, that the owner pays the township any outstanding taxes in full on the property. C, that the owner applicant pays to the township a sum of $7,500 as cash in lieu payment for the provision of parkland as permitted under section 53 of the Planning Act. D, that the owner applicant submit the regional consent review fee of $350 prior to final approval. E, that the owner applicant pays to the township the sum of $350 as the administration approval fee prior to final approval. F, that the owner applicant pays to the township the sum of $840 as our certificate of approval clearance fee prior to final approval. G, that the owner applicant complete the required regional access permits to the satisfaction of the region of Waterloo. H, that prior to final approval, the owner or applicant submit an archaeological assessment report and ministry acknowledgement letters for the proposed separate lands to the satisfaction of the Township of North Dumfries. I, that the owner or applicant enter into a registered development agreement with the region of Waterloo to include the following noise warning clauses in all agreements of offers of purchase and sale, lease or rental agreements, and condominium declarations for all dwelling units on the proposed severed and retained lands. Purchasers or tenants are advised that sound levels due to increased road traffic on Wrigley Road may occasionally interfere with some activities of the dwelling occupants as the sound levels exceed sound level limits of the municipality and the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. J, that the applicant owner apply for and enter into a development agreement for the severed lands with the Township of North Dumfries that will satisfactorily address, among other matters, on 1, the location of the buildings and structures, inclusive of the finished floor elevation. 2, landscaping, inclusive of a tree preservation or protection plan. 3, driveway locations and standards. 4, lot grading and drainage plan. 5, site servicing plan. The proposed conventional septic system installed on the proposed lot is to be restricted to a maximum daily sanitary flow of 1,100 liters per day in the location of the proposed well. And 6, restrictions that acknowledge a maximum daily sanitary flow not to exceed 1,100 liters per day. K, the owner shall agree that the development agreement will be registered against the title of the proposed separate property. L, that the owner applicant agrees to confirm the location of the septic system on the retained lot and provide a condition assessment verified by a licensed septic installer to the satisfaction of the Township of North Dumfries. M, that the above conditions must be fulfilled and the document for conveyance, the certificate of consent, will be completed by the Township Planning Department within 2 years of the date of written decision pursuant to section 53(41) of the Planning Act. Otherwise, the approvals shall lapse. And 3, and at minor variance application A-12/21, the request to seek relief from section 8.3.2A of General Zoning Bylaw number 689-83 to permit a reduced lot frontage to the retained lot of 12.6 meters be approved.
Thank you, Brenda. All those in favor? Carrie, thank you. 6.6.4, the report number PD 14/2025 consent application for 1392 Wrigley Road, file number B-02/24, B-03/24, and B-04/24. Notice has been given in accordance with the plan. The Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the Clerk's Department to request a notice of decision. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of any future meetings on this application. Michael Campbell, Manager of Planning, you'll present this application. Michael, please.
Thank you again, Madam. And I'm pleased to present to you staff's recommendation report relating to 3 separate lot additions received for 1392 Wrigley Road. File numbers B02/24, B03/24, and B04/24. So the subject property, again, this is a bit repeated, but the subject property is located on the north side of Wrigley Road between Reedsville Road and Dumfries Road. 1392 Wrigley Road provides a total lot frontage onto Wrigley Road of 42.7 meters, which is split between 2 sections that straddles the property mostly known as 1402 Wrigley Road. The proposed receiving lots, 1402, 1412, and 1420 Wrigley Road are all located within the Wrigley settlement area and have shared existing property lines with the subject property. Each of the receiving lots is presently developed with a single detached dwelling and associated accessory structures, with the exception of 1420 Wrigley Road, which does not have an accessory structure. Surrounding the subject property are primarily agricultural and rural residential lots. And the subject property is subject to multiple designations under the township official plan, including settlement, residential and ancillary, rural area and protected countryside. And it's split zoned Z1 agriculture, which reflects the lands within the rural area and protected countryside designations, and Z3 rural residential, which reflects the lands within the settlement area. So the purpose of the proposed consent applications is to convey portions of land from the subject property, which is 1392 Wrigley Road, as lot additions to 3 neighboring parcels of land municipally addressed as 1402, 1412, and 1420 Wrigley Road. No new lots are proposed to be created through these consent applications. And so consent application file number B02/24 proposes to convey 3,800 square meters or 0.38 hectares of land from 1392 Wrigley Road, as shown on the concept sketch, as a lot addition to the property at 1402 Wrigley Road. The 1402 Wrigley Road property is the receiving lot furthest east on the concept plan. Consent application file number B03/24 proposes to convey 1,900 square meters or 0.19 hectares of land from 1392 Wrigley Road, as shown on the concept sketch, as a lot addition to the property at 1412 Wrigley Road. The 1412 Wrigley Road property is the middle property of the 3 receiving lots. And finally, consent application B04/24 proposes to convey 1,900 square meters or 0.19 hectares of land from 1392 Wrigley Road, as shown on the concept sketch, as a lot addition to the property at 1420 Wrigley Road. The 1420 Wrigley Road property is the receiving lot furthest west. Should the proposed consent applications be approved, the retained lot would have a remaining lot area of 13.44 hectares. And should the ongoing consent application, which was just approved to create an additional lot, the final lot area of the retained lot would equate to 13.04 hectares. Consent application B07/21 was processed simultaneously with these lot addition applications. And the receiving lots are all zoned Z3 rural residential in their entirety. And should the proposed consent applications be approved, the lands to be conveyed and added to the receiving lots would continue to be zoned Z1 agriculture. The following image was taken from the rear yard of the property at 1412 Wrigley Road, looking northward towards the subject property. The proposed land to be conveyed includes the land generally shown in blue, and lands proposed to be conveyed to 1402 and 1420 Wrigley Road are similar to the land shown in this photo, being comprised of existing vacant agricultural land. At this time, planning staff have received 1 piece of correspondence from a local resident on June 10th, 2024. The resident shared concerns regarding the traveled speed along Wrigley Road and the safety of residents within the settlement area. And according to the comments received from the resident, they are supportive of the application should appropriate changes be made on the regional road to reduce speed. Township staff have informed the resident that their concerns have been relayed to the region, and the township is working with regional staff to address the issue. Despite this important concern, planning staff believe the proposed consent applications, which involve lot additions, are not affected by the speed issue. The applications do not propose any new lots or additional access points onto Wrigley Road, and the lot additions will only extend the rear of 3 existing residential lots, all of which currently have access to Wrigley Road. While planning staff will continue to advocate for action from the region of Waterloo regarding speed concerns on settlement area roads, the proposed consent applications should proceed since they do not contribute to the identified issue. Regarding agency correspondence received through the circulation review period, planning staff can confirm that all comments received from staff and agency review have been addressed. That there are no outstanding comments or issues that are required to be resolved. Planning staff have completed a comprehensive review of the application and are recommending approval of the proposed consent applications based on the following. The proposed applications are consistent with the provincial planning statement as it respects the locally appropriate rural character of the existing settlement area, maintains compatibility with the surrounding lot fabric, and supports appropriate service levels. Lands will continue to function as a residential lot consistent with the permitted uses for rural lands. The proposed lot additions aim to create uniformity in lot sizes along the road, specifically for the receiving lots municipal addresses 1402 through the 1420 Ruby Road. The proposed additional land being added to each lot will enhance the existing residential properties by providing additional amenity space to support the principal uses. There are 9 residential lots on the northern side of Wrigley Road that span both the settlement area and the rural area designation, and 2 residential lots on the southern side of Wrigley Road that share a similar configuration. Therefore, it's the opinion of staff that the proposal aligns with the existing lot fabric of the Wrigley Road settlement area and will be consistent with existing lots in this regard. The staff have no concerns that the proposed applications will adversely affect neighboring property owners within the settlement area, nor will they negatively impact rural lots outside the settlement area. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed consent application aligns with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and represents good planning. It is therefore staff's recommendation to the committee that applications B02/24, B03/24, and B04/24 being requested to convey portions of the subject property known as 1392 Wrigley Road as lot additions to neighboring properties, municipal addresses 1402, 1412, and 1420 Wrigley Road be approved, subject to the applicable conditions as identified in staff's recommendation report and that are presented on this slide. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Would the applicant like to say anything? Any members of the public like to make any comments? Councilors, any staff, councilors, any questions? Councilor Osmer, I'm sorry your motion isn't quite as long, but it's correct. Could you read your motion?
I can make it seem as long.
No, thank you.
Moved by myself, seconded by Scott Tilley, that PD report number 14-2025 be received for information. And that consent applications B0224, B0324, and B0424 being requested to convey portions of the subject property municipally known as 1392 Wrigley Road as lot additions to the neighboring properties which are municipally addressed as 1402 Wrigley Road, 1412 Wrigley Road, and 1420 Wrigley Road be approved, subject to the following conditions applicable to each consent application. 1, that the applicant submit a reference plan for each receiving lot prepared by an Ontario land surveyor, illustrating the proposed lot additions to the satisfaction of the township of North Dumfries. 2, that the applicant pay $230 representing the township administration fee for each consent application. 3, that the applicant pay $840 representing the township certificate of approval clearance fee for each consent application. 4, that the owner pays the township any outstanding taxes in full on the property. 5, that the applicant submit drafts of the transfer deeds for review. Upon registration, final copies of the transfer deed shall be provided to the township. 6, that the applicant's solicitor submits an undertaking to register applications to consolidate the parcels. Upon registration, evidence of compliance with the undertaking be provided to the township as soon as possible after registering the consents. And 7, that the above conditions be fulfilled and the document for conveyance certificate of consent be completed by the secretary treasurer of the committee within 2 years of the date of the written decision pursuant to the section 5317 of Planning Act RSO 1990. Otherwise, the approval shall lapse.
All those in favor? Carrie, thank you. Well, you've made it. Well done. We'll miss you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Correspondence, you don't adjourn, please, Councilor Tilly. Or the Committee of Adjustment.
Moved by myself, second by Derek Osner, that pursuant to the Planning Act, the public meeting of the Committee of Adjustment be adjourned at 7:04 p.m.
All those in favor? Carrie, thank you. Public meetings and hearing, council public meeting planning act 7.1.1 report PD 11/2025 proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 1821-1835 Bristolboro Road, file number Z3C-08/22. And others can make should they wish to, you don't have to, I know it's limiting, but you don't have to say.
Thank you.
Notice has been given in accordance with the planning act. The clerk will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the clerk's department to request a notice of decision. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings on this application. A sign-in sheet is available on the table at the back of the room for anyone who wishes further notice related to this application. Michael Campos, manager of planning, will present this application. Michael, please.
Last one. Thank you. I'm here today to present to you a public information report relating to zoning bylaw amendment application that's been received for the property at 1821 to 1835 West Fair Road, with the intent of expanding the existing two-list Whistlebear aggregate pit located at 1951 Whistlebear Road. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal received, to solicit comments, and to identify issues or matters to be assessed by staff as we move forward with the review of the application. So the subject property is located at 1821 to 1835 Whistlebear Road, east of Highway 401, north of Roseville Road, and west of Dickey Settlement Road. The subject property is approximately 41.52 hectares in size, with a corresponding lot frontage of 820 meters onto Whistlebear Road. The subject property is currently used as an agricultural farm and is developed with an existing two-story single detached dwelling, a silo, and accessory sheds. The majority of the property is used for agricultural cash crop production. And a small wetland is located at the south portion of the site and is partially located within the adjacent Grand Valley Golf Course. This wetland is regulated by the Grand River Conservation Authority and has been evaluated as being provincially significant. There are also two existing hydro towers located on the property in an easement that bisects the property. Surrounding the subject property is the existing two-list Whistlebear aggregate pit, agricultural lands, the Grand Valley Golf and Country Club, as well as industrial uses south of Roseville Road. The lands are designated rural areas and countryside by both the regional official plan and the township official plan. And the township zoning bylaw zones the property Z1 agricultural in its entirety. So the applicant is proposing an expansion of the existing two-list Whistlebear aggregate pit to the immediate west of the subject lands into the subject lands. Both sites are intended to share an access, an internal haul route, and the same hours of operation. It is proposed that the extraction operations will continue from the existing pit into the subject property in a west to east direction over the next 21 to 24 years and would take place in 3 phases. Extraction of the site will begin at the boundary of the two-list pit and move east into the subject property, encompassing an area of 5.53 hectares. Aggregates will be extracted for about 5 to 6 years before moving into phase 2. In phase 2, extraction will move east around the wetland and will continue for 9 to 10 years. The phase 2 extraction area is 6.98 hectares. And finally, phase 3 will see the remaining 8.33 hectares of the subject property be extracted, providing enough aggregates for 7 to 8 years of extraction. As part of the proposal to expand the aggregate pit into the subject lands, the applicant has included several environmental and operational measures that will mitigate impacts on adjacent properties, environmental features, and features located on site. A 15-meter buffer is proposed along the north property line parallel to Whistlebear Road. A 15-meter setback with an incorporated access ramp is proposed along the southern hydro tower, while the northern tower is outside of the proposed extraction limit. Additionally, a 20-meter buffer is proposed around an existing archaeological find at the north of the site, which will remain undisturbed. A 70-meter buffer around this same find requires archaeological monitoring for site alteration and or extraction, both of which are proposed. A separate archaeological find located within the wetland area requires the same buffering. However, no site alteration is proposed within the buffers of the southern find. The wetland will be protected by a 30-meter wetland buffer surrounding the core feature, and no extraction is proposed that will harm the environmental feature. Temporary aggregate stockpiles will be limited to a maximum height of 10 meters from the pit floor, with silt screens installed around the disturbed areas and the adjacent wetland to minimize environmental impacts. The site will be rehabilitated for agricultural use following extraction. And to conserve the Class 2 soils and mitigate dust and noise, Topsoil will be burned along the north, south, and east property lines with a maximum height of 4 meters and a 3-to-1 slope. Once extraction is complete, the site will be restored for agricultural use. And those topsoil berms will be redistributed, creating a 0.3 meter layer of topsoil over a 0.3 meter layer of silt loam. The site will be graded to preserve existing drainage patterns, incorporating depressed areas to collect runoff. And a buffer will be maintained along the extraction boundary to allow rainfall to continue draining into the wetland. Native seed mixes and shrubs will be planted with a 30-meter buffer along Whistle Bear Road and a 15-meter buffer along the eastern and southern property lines. And so in order to facilitate the expansion of the existing aggregate pit into the subject lands, an amendment to the township zoning bylaw number 68983 is required. The site is currently zoned Z1 agricultural under the township zoning bylaw and does not permit aggregate extraction. And as a result, a zoning bylaw amendment application is required to rezone the subject property to the Z14 mineral aggregate zone, as well as the Z12A environmental protection 1 zone, with a site-specific exemption to permit extraction along the western property line of the subject property, which shares a border with existing Toulouse Bay. The purpose of the Z12A environmental protection 1 zone is to ensure the future protection of the core environmental feature, being the existing wetland at the southern end of the subject property. In Ontario, all aggregate extraction pits require a permit from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry under the Aggregate Resources Act. The existing Toulouse Whistle Bear pit is authorized to extract up to 100,000 tons per year. In order to proceed with extraction on the subject lands, a new Category 3 Class A above water pit permit is required. This type of permit ensures that the pit bottom remains at least 1.5 meters above the water table, as determined through a hydrogeological investigation which has been prepared by the applicant and submitted as part of the zoning bylaw amendment review process. The permitting process for this application is separate from the Planning Act process, and the applicant intends to proceed with this application following an eventual approval of the zoning bylaw amendment application, should council choose to support the proposal. At this time, planning staff have not received any comments from members of the public. Notice of the public meeting was circulated to property owners within a 120-meter radius of the property, and a notification sign was posted along the frontage of the property on Whistle Bear Road. Any comments that are received at today's public meeting or leading up to a future decision meeting will be addressed through a future staff recommendation report. The application has been circulated for review by internal and external agencies, and comments have started to be received. Generally, most agencies have submitted comments outlining support for the application, including the fire department, the Region of Waterloo Catholic District School Board, and the GRCA. The GRCA has, however, advised through their comments that although they support the zoning bylaw amendment, they will request additional details to be provided to their attention through a future ARA application to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. The township's engineering consultant has also completed a comprehensive review of the submission materials and have provided several technical comments on the transportation impact brief, the noise impact and land use compatibility study, the excavation plan, the best management practices for control of fugitive dust emissions, and the environmental impact study. These comments will be shared with the applicant for review and will need to be addressed ahead of a future recommendation report being brought forward to council for a decision. As part of the future recommendation report, staff will provide a detailed overview of the comments received. And at this time, staff is recommending that no decision on the merits of the planning application be made, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for further consideration as part of the future report to council. A future staff report will consider matters including but not limited to all comments and correspondence received during the consultation process, land use compatibility considerations, and an assessment of potential impacts on adjacent and surrounding sensitive land uses, impacts on agricultural operations on surrounding properties, and ensuring that land rehabilitation can be completed to a comparable level of agricultural activity, a review of the phasing plan and continued progressive rehabilitation practices, a review of cumulative impacts of the proposed aggregate operation on the surrounding natural environment, and consistency with the provincial planning statement, the Region of Waterloo official plan, and the township official plan. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. CAO McNeil.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wish to add one item for clarification. Piece of public correspondence has been received. There was an addendum issued late this afternoon from an adjacent residential owner, Mr. Brian Oliver, and it will form part of the public record and be reflected in the future staff report.
So noted. Thank you, CAO McNeil. Brandon Llewellyn, did you wish to speak?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Fox and members of council. My name is Brandon Flowing. I'm the agent here on behalf of the property owner. I've just got a short presentation. I think Mr. Campos did a really good overview of what the application in front of you is, but there's a few things I would like to highlight. So first of all, just a quick look at the development proposal. This application is seeking an expansion of the existing operations, but it's not proposing an increase of the operation. So it's a continuation of what they're doing now. So the annual tonnage that is removed, the number of trucks that come and go from the site per day, all of that remains the same. It's just a movement eastward of the existing operations to continue extraction of materials in the area. The development plan in front of you incorporates berming, sort of shown in that gold color along the Whistlebear Road, as well as vegetative screening, which would be proposed. There's significant setbacks as identified or buffer areas through the staff presentation surrounding the site along the frontage and then certainly down the eastern property line and along the rear property line as well. Existing natural features at the south end of the site, sort of located south centrally in the site, will be buffered and protected from the expansion of the aggregate operations. And then identified on the screen as well were a couple of archaeological finds. And these areas are proposed to be protected and buffered as well from the development or the expansion of the aggregate operations. I think really I'm just hoping to highlight that this is an expansion of the location of the operation and not an increase in the size of the operations or the undertaking overall. On this screen here is just this is the graphic taken from the noise and land use compatibility report. And I would comment that we've seen the additional correspondence that was provided today. I think a lot of those questions can be adequately addressed and have been generally addressed in the materials provided, but certainly we'll endeavor to follow up and provide additional responses to that material. But I would highlight, again, so the subject properties shown down sort of in the middle of the site here in the green outline is the area on site where certain activities can occur. The orange and yellow lines along the north property line identify required berms as identified through the noise study. Pretty hard to see at this scale, but the couple things to take into consideration is that the Whistlebear campground to the north and their future expansion plans have been incorporated into the noise study so that their plans were reviewed and taken into consideration with preparation of the supporting reports. And then the adjacent property owner submitted comments today. While their property is not specifically identified as a receptive point or a noise perception point on this graphic, the front edge of the campground property is, and it's directly adjacent proximity. So we'll make sure that that's clarified, that their property is adequately identified as a point source of noise. But when this application originally started, that house wasn't built. So that issue has changed throughout the sort of the course of this application. But certainly we'll make sure that that is adequately addressed in future correspondence and before it comes back to council for a decision. One more slide. I'll just sort of review the environmental work that was done, and really this is just identifying the core natural features of the south end of the site. They've been identified and documented, and appropriate buffers have been proposed around them. And again, the development proposal takes that into consideration and will ensure no impacts to those features. As with any planning act application, but certainly with a gravel pit application, there's a number of supporting documents that have to be completed. So this includes planning justification report, archaeological impact assessment, noise, dust, land use compatibility, environmental impact study, transportation impact study, hydrogeological, as well as the actual preparation of the draft extraction and rehabilitation plans. Again, these are all say conceptual to the extent for the planning act applications. They are formalized and officially approved through the Aggregate Resources Act application, which would follow a successful rezoning. So the operational plans as identified in front of you tonight are accurate in terms of what's being proposed in the site, but the final approvals of the, the operation plan and so on as noted in the staff report is done through the aggregate licensing process, which would follow a successful zoning amendment. So I think that's it. Really, we're here to respond to any questions or take away information and come back. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that.
Councilors, do you have any questions of the applicant? I have a couple. So you're taking 100,000 tons a year out now,
That's correct.
okay? You're going to 3 new phases. Will you, when you're done phase 1, will you rehabilitate it before moving into phase 2?
The final rehabilitation would come at the end because of the internal haul routes and on-site activities. The operation would sort of expand to the east as we go, and then the rehabilitation will happen at the end. If there's some interim rehabilitation that could occur, I would have to confirm, but because we're sort of moving west to east and the existing driveway access is within the existing pit as it exists today, there'll still need to be a haul road and operational activities that happen throughout the phases, so.
So you're moving west to east, so west is by the 401. So that's your entrance and exit. I'm just thinking as you move down, would it not be more feasible to exit somewhere else, but they are probably only have the wrong exit, but so they can. Okay, that's my questions. Thank you very much. Any members of the public wish to make any comments, please come forward, sir. And your name, please. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Rick Fox and Council. My name is Peter Bangman. I'm the owner and operator, along with my wife and my son and daughter of Whistleberg Campground. So we're most affected by the gravel pit. And so I'm here to speak on. I'm sorry. Somehow something got lost, but I did not get notice until Thursday. My council meeting on this. I didn't know that. So I had, so thank you for this. And so in a general sense, Whistleberg Campground at this point in time is not opposed to the gravel pit. That's number one. So we're not opposed to it. I think, keep in mind with the minimal separation stuff that comes with an operation like that and a recreational property like ours, so minimal separation may not be in play, but I know as a good neighbor, the gravel pit has gone through and increased the height of their berms in front of the property to negate some of the noise, and we really do appreciate that. Noise is definitely one of the things that we have a concern with, but I think they've done their utmost to increase that even above what they're required to start with. And dust, of course, I think in the report they've gone through and addressed that. Traffic is the one thing that is probably one of my biggest concern, and the safety of coming on and off of Whistleberg Road on the Dickey settlement. And I know the pictures that we had up there show an existing gravel pit, and the house that's there was on the property is not there in that picture. The new operation that they're running now, also with the mulch plant, is not really recognized, and really don't see what's happening there in the sense of traffic. So yeah, there's just the gravel coming off, but there's a lot of the mulch plant is there too, so that adds to a lot of traffic. And my big concern and the safety concern I have is Whistleberg Road approaching Dicker Settlement. And if you want to turn left, you take your hands in your own. Like and so that's where I really have a concern. Right now we have a 3-way stop at Roseville and Dickey Settlement. We know in years' time that's gone, that's a roundabout. So that timing of traffic is not going to be eliminated with the constant flow of traffic there. I even heard tell that Dickey Settlement will go to 4 lanes at some point in time in the long future. But if that ever happened, it would be a concern. And even for bike campers too, coming in and off the property, not just the trucks, because trucks can't go in your car really fast. They get these are big trucks, and a lot of times they're big transport trucks with the stuff. So it's a low egress. So I would really encourage that we have more consultation when we're talking about traffic flow and how we can best approach that on the safety side of things. So I know when we were doing our application, I had that concern with, as we go through and traffic getting on the different stuff. Is there another way we can do this? What can be done? Again, with the region pushing through with this roundabout, it eliminates some of the chance of getting out there. So that is a major concern. But overall, I think, the gravel pit and the operators are good neighbors, and looking forward to continuing that work. And So I know it's the only other little thing I'd like to say, once they get berms, once it's all gone, they have to, they're talking about doing a vegetation growth along the road there on Whistlebear. It'd be nice if that could stay instead of being eliminated once they put it back into agriculture. That's my comment.
Thank you very much. Councilors, any questions or comments? Jimmy John. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, okay. We have another person, Mario. Mario, would you like to say a few words? Go ahead, Mario.
Yes, thank you. Madam Mayor and members of council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I will try to keep it very brief, and as it was just mentioned, we are neighbors of the Whistlebear Campground, and when that proposal came about, being a good neighbor as well, we had no real opposition to it. Again, having the fact that we built a home at this location, there are some slight concerns that I'd just like to address and maybe have clarified, and that's all this is all about. And I have not had a chance, as I noted in my email to Mr. Eric Bell and Michael Campos, that I haven't had much of a chance to review because I only got this really 2 days ago that I had a chance to really have a look at the document because we were away out of the country for a while. Yes, we were away, yeah. So one of the things I just want to make sure, and I know I think my first question was is as far as the reference to the 9 sensitive point of reception locations within the 500 meters of the site were identified, all of which were dwellings along Whistlebear Road or Roseville Road. And I think it was just answered that our house wasn't built at the time, so our house wasn't on the actual mapping. Now, my question to that is, when I look at the planning justification report, which was done March 2022 and revised September 2024, there's like those, why would that not have been fixed at that point in time? Would that not have been updated at that particular point in time to note that there is a dwelling that is actually existent, that's actually a lot closer than maybe the other ones. So that was that. And then just a little bit of a clarification on aggregate operations. It says it will include removal, crushing, and piling of soil within the pit during the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. And again, I can't reference the other point, but I thought I saw somewhere as well that loading will take place at 6 a.m. My question to that would be, is this a Monday to Friday activity that we're occurring? And how do we distinguish between loading and the other work being done? So crushing and piling from a noise point of view. The other part, so then reading and then 5.5, which is the best management practices plan for control of fugitive dust emissions. And an analysis conducted shows 62% of the winds have speed of 4.5 meters per second and blow predominantly from the east. Well, I have lived here for 5 years now, and I would argue that point. I don't have data, so I haven't gone out there with a barometer or any wind sort of testing devices. But the majority of the time, the winds are actually coming the other way because we can hear the highway noise quite loudly. If it was coming from the east, we don't hear the highway at all. So I would argue the point that I think it's more often the other way. Now it says again where it says the mitigation would take place. There is other things that happen on the roadway, and to be fair, and I would agree with the fact that the Grower's Choice, which is across the road from us as well, they have actually they have been I think conscientious when they built the facility that is just down the road from us, which is actually a great building, and they keep it in nice repair, meaning it looks good. I think it fits the environment, and to be fair, they were very careful when they were building. We had very little garbage on our property that we had to sort of collect from a construction point of view. So we appreciated that. The berm that was built as well actually made it like we really didn't even know about, like we didn't really hear too much about the construction going on. So those are all appreciated. The front area of the actual entrance to the Grower's Choice was paved, which made a big difference because we oftentimes forget about the mud and the sand that goes on the roads from the trucks going by all the time. Again, because we're a residence, our windows it's a constant battle. Our air conditioning systems, our windows, doors, wiping stuff down. It's kind of a never-ending battle. Now, again, it's not something that I'm not trying to whine about it. Just I think bringing that to attention. It's not just the actual work at the gravel pit that takes place. There's also transport, and when winds are blowing, we're all in an open area here. The winds are blowing. There's a lot more dust than I think we are led to believe. So that's just something else that I wanted to go on record as identifying. The GHD limited updated noise impact and land use compatibility study, which was February 6, 2023, referred to scenario 1 noise contour plot figure C1. And that is the one that was identified, that green outline in that diagram that I'm sorry, I didn't get the gentleman's name that presented. He showed the green outline. And based on that green outline, where our home is located, the actual boundary to the most western part is very, very close to our property. Now, when we talk about my next door neighbor, where the house is, that property is much further away from the green line that is on there. So the boundary. So I'm just wondering now whether that boundary has taken into account the location of our home at 1960 Whistle Bear Road. So that is something that I did notice that the berm identified by the yellow and the orange spots. I think that berm, I would, based on the drawings that I can see, I would just request that maybe that berm is extended a little bit more westerly, because it does not even cover all of the area to the boundary of our property line across the road.
Mario, you've gone past your 5 minutes, but you have some really good points. Could you put them in writing and send them to the township?
I already have. I did that this afternoon. Yes, I sent them
Right.
to.
I thought if there's anything additional that you would also send along.
No, I think I've sent what I needed to send at this point in time, and I apologize. I didn't realize I had 5 minutes, so I apologize for that.
Oh, no, thank you very much. And your points mattered. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The other comments from the public. Councilors, Councilor Williams.
So, I was reading the Burnside engineering report, and I concur with a lot of the concerns they had. One of the questions and things that I don't quite understand is that Grower's Choice operates out of the current pit, or seems to. So I was wondering, how does that impact any rehabilitation plans for the current set of operations? Particularly since, if they are going to be moving into a different area and they take all their equipment with them, there should be no reason why that site can't be rehabilitated into agricultural lands. So I'm just wondering, I was just rather confused because I did drive by there, and it seems as though Grower's Choice is within the pit itself. So that's, I'd love to get that clarified, and I'd love to see rehabilitation plans for the existing pit.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments, councilors? Seeing none, Councilor Roman, motion please.
Myself and Councilor Oster, that the report number 11-2025 be received for information, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for further consideration in a future report to council on this petition on this matter.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Report number 7.1.2, report number 209/2025, proposed zoning bylaw amendment for plan 663 part lot 1 RP 67 R 1718 part lot 1, 6, and 7 part lot Mid River, file number ZC01/25. Notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The clerk will keep a record of all persons who have provided their comments on this application, and those who register with the clerk's department to request a notice of decision. Those individuals will be notified of the decision on the convening of future meetings on this application. A sign-in sheet is available on the table at the back of the room for anyone who wishes further notice related to this application. Brock and Planner, senior planner, will present this application. Brock, please.
Thank you. The following presentation has been prepared to show the details regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application CCO 125 for the currently unaddressed parcel on Rose Street, located between the lots that are municipally addressed as 30 Rose Street and 70 Rose Street. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal, to solicit comments, and identify issues or matters to be addressed by them. The subject property is located on the west side of Rose Street, south of Piper Street, and north of Water Street and urban area. The subject property does not currently have a municipal address, however, it is located between the lots municipally addressed as 30 Rose Street and 70 Rose Street. The property has a lot frontage of 18.228 meters on the Rose Street with an approximate lot area of 1,027 square meters. The property is currently vacant of development. Surrounding land use activities consist of residential, environmental, and open space, Victoria Park. The property is currently split zoned as Z1 agriculture, Z4 urban residential, and Z4F urban residential floodplain. The majority of the with the majority of the property currently designated as floodplain. Image on this slide shows a view of the subject property from Rose Street with the approximate limits of the property shown on the image with the red line. The images on this slide show two different aerial views of the property. As noted, the property is currently vacant under development. It consists primarily of vacant land and natural features. The applicant is proposing to establish a new split zoning for the property to permit for the development of a new single attached dwelling. The proposed two-story dwelling will have a ground floor footprint of 232.47 meters squared or 2,500 square feet approximately. A secondary dwelling unit based in the basement is also included in the proposal. Subject property is currently split zones, as mentioned, as Z1 agriculture, Z4 urban residential, and Z4 urban residential floodplain. The zoning bylaw includes specific restrictions for proposed structures within the floodplain designation. Due to this partial floodplain designation, technical reports were prepared and correspondence was had with the Grand River Conservation Authority to more accurately determine the floodplain and slope hazard limits on the property. The completed studies defined the floodplain limits in greater detail and demonstrated that a proposed single detached dwelling can be constructed on the subject property outside of the floodplain designated area as currently shown on our zoning maps. A zoning bylaw amendment is therefore required to establish a new split zoning for the property. The proposed split zoning is represented on the map shown on your screen. The details of the rezoning are as follows. So the zone, it'll be partially split zone 4 urban residential, which will encompass the area of the proposed dwelling, as well as the area outside of confirmed slope hazard extent. So the front half of the property approximately. And the remainder of the property will be zone 12 open space, which will cover the area from the rear property line to the inland limit of the confirmed slope hazard. So the rear half of the property. The displayed map on this slide shows the proposed dwelling location, as well as the area of the property that will be rezoned to zone 4 urban residential. On this slide, you can see examples of building elevations that were submitted along with this application. The photo on the top left is the front building elevation, which will face Rose Street. Photo in the bottom center of the slide shows the proposed side building elevation facing the Knit River to the south, as well as the rear building elevation facing the west side. Looking at planning policies and regulations, the original policy statement encourages the creation of complete communities by accommodating a diverse range of housing options. This includes permitting different housing types and densities to meet the current and future needs of residents within the regional market area. And the PPS also promotes residential intensification and redevelopment within existing settlement areas as a means to achieve complete communities and efficiently use land resources. This includes the development and introduction of new housing options within previously developed areas, such as this. The PPS encourages densities and land use patterns that promote the efficient use of land resources and infrastructure. Looking at the Township of North Dumfries official plan section 2.4.5 encourages the creation of new dwelling units within built-up areas, such as the urban area, through various means like infill and intensification, as long as the proposed development can be compatible with surrounding land uses, and that there are no significant infrastructure limitations for physical constraints. Section 2.7.2 also describes that when reviewing development proposals within the urban area, township staff will ensure that the development supports the plan structure of the township, contributes to complete communities with efficient development patterns, and respects the existing existing character of established neighborhoods, particularly in areas where redevelopment is planned. One piece of public correspondence has been received from the adjacent landowners at 70 Rose Street. The written correspondence expressed the following concerns, specifically concerns that directing roof and yard drainage westward toward the Nith River will increase groundwater flow and potentially cause water damage to the basement of the house located on 70 Rose Street. Concern that directing driveway and front yard runoffs towards Rose Street will worsen existing erosion issues on the driveway of 70 Rose Street due to the lack of proper stormwater infrastructure on Rose Street. And the correspondence also requested clarification on the zoning requirements and restrictions for lots designated zone 4F floodplain. Specifically, the owners were seeking rationale for why it appears that the 55 square meter footprint limit for structures has been waived in this case. Comments were received, looking at agency correspondence, comments were received from the following internal departments and external agencies regarding the application. Any further public and agency comments that are received will be considered and incorporated into a future recommendation report for this application. Canada Post noted that mail delivery will be available by the PO box at the post office. The URCA had no objections to the proposal of the zoning amendment, as they had previous discussions with the applicant throughout this process. The applicant is advised that a permit will be required from the URCA though for final grading, retaining walls, and for the new dwelling under Ontario Regulation 4124. Our external engineering consultant, RJ Burnside, reviewed the proposal and noted that the EIS should be reviewed further to confirm that the 10-meter core environmental feature buffer is met as required by section 6.1.76 of the township's official plan. The applicant should also clarify if buffer enhancement plantings or other measures are proposed beyond the landscape plantings. The drainage of Rose Street right of way does not seem to be addressed in this submission, and this should be revised to address this. Additionally, the rear property line is located on the opposite side of the Nith River, such that a small amount of table land is inaccessible to the owners. The land is adjacent to a narrow strip of land that is part of a larger parcel that appears to be owned by the township. Generally contains involved water features. Consideration should be given to whether this private land should be acquired by the township for use as part of a trailway or other public interest. Waterloo Catholic School Board noted that any applicable education development charges shall be collected prior to the building permit. Additionally, the Township Fire Department, Regional Waterloo, Grand Ridge Energy, and the Waterloo Region District School Board stated that they have no objections to the proposal. Staff recommends that all comments and correspondence received from members of the public and government agencies through the consultation process should be returned to staff for a future report to council on the disposition of this matter. Staff, in consideration of a future report on the merits of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, will be considering matters including, but not limited to, all comments and correspondence received during the consultation process, the effect of the proposed development on matters of provincial interest, such as development and land use patterns, and the appropriate location for the development, a detailed review of the provided planning justification or brief, including draft zoning bylaw text and schedule. Number 4, whether the development conforms to the provincial planning statement and township official plan, and whether the general intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. Additionally, that the appropriate interface between the developable portion of the property to accommodate the proposed single attached dwelling, as well as the stable slope for the Nith River Valley riverine system is considered. Whether any specific restrictions are required for future ancillary or accessory structures to the rear of the principal dwelling, recognizing the influences of the Nith River riverine system. And lastly, impact of the proposed development on surrounding properties and compatibility with surrounding land uses. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Does the owner of the applicant wish to make any comments? Is that you, Michael? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I appreciate Mr. Linklater's presentation. It was very informative. So I won't get into many of the details that he went over, just to keep things brief. But I will get into some background on the application a little bit further on behalf of our client, SDS Group Inc. So a zoning bylaw amendment is required to permit a new proposed single detached dwelling on this parcel. The parcel was created by way of a severance that was approved in 1980, and the subject property has sat vacant since. The policy framework that was in place during the severance approval in 1980 was quite different from the planning framework that we have now. And that mainly resulted in the tri-split zoning that we have for the site. That results in the special policy area in the township's official plan, as well as the floodplain specialized zoning suffix. Now, several detailed studies were completed in support of the proposed development. This included a geotechnical evaluation, a slope stability assessment, an environmental impact study, a stormwater management brief, and site servicing design. And those were reviewed in consultation with agencies such as the Grand River Conservation Authority. And it was determined through review of those studies that there is development potential on this site to accommodate a single detached dwelling outside of the top bank of the steep slope. So that is what the zoning amendment is proposing to do, and to revise the zoning to give the land use permissions so building permits can be issued for that single detached dwelling. So what we're proposing to do is to remove the floodplain zoning as it applies to the site to be aligned with the studies. Should that be approved, the proposed development will move into the building permit process. I do also note, and I did review concerns and comments that were submitted by the adjacent landowners of 70 Rose Street earlier today. And their concerns, we understand, are primarily with regards to drainage and runoff impacts on their property to the south. I did speak to the MTE, who prepared the site servicing study and grading plan this afternoon in response to those concerns. And they are quite confident that they will be able to be addressed through detailed design. The high-level proposal that we're happy to take back is the incorporation of a swale along the south property line that will direct drainage to the Nith River and not make existing erosion conditions any worse. So in our opinion, just to conclude, we believe that this is a very context sensitive infill on a lot that was created many years ago and that has been underutilized within the urban area. There are full municipal services that are available to accommodate this house on Rose Street. And we look forward to working with township staff and agencies going forward. And I'm happy to take any questions that council may have.
Councilors, any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike Houston. Come on up, Mike.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. Thank you for hearing our concerns. So most of the concerns have really been elaborated already. I did submit a more comprehensive email, and I'm assuming I don't have to read that. Okay, I'm grateful for that. Probably you are too. So again, the great concerns we have are, some of them are pre-existing issues. Of course, the drainage on Rose Street typically runs right down our driveway and drains into it, and we are feeling that in our home too. So any additional drainage from impervious surfaces is of course a concern to us. The development of a swale between the two homes seems very reasonable. I think the other thing, as I was thinking about it, and I didn't write it in the email, is just how well the proposed construction will fit into the neighborhood the way it is. It's something, I think, a bit of an anomaly, but there's not a lot of homes on Rose Street to compare it to, but to put a 3-story home sitting on an elevated footing seems unusual to me. It's like, I understand it's very narrow lot, and to get the most square footage out of the home is a priority for the prospective builder. But again, it does seem to be a bit monolithic. And I think I'll add something to that effect in my submission to Bob, but that's all I really have. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. Yes.
Councilor Austin.
Are you on the north side or south side?
Sorry?
What side?
We're
are
on the
you?
south side. Yeah.
You're the new house that was built.
That's right,
I call it the new house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that house is technically a 3-story as well, is it not? Because you don't think you have a walkout basement?
We have a walkout basement, it's a bungalow.
It's a bungalow with the walkout basement. Okay.
Yeah, please, yeah. At least the way I would look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public have any comments? Councilors, any comments? When I saw the drawing, I thought, is this like a triplex or? But as you said, it's narrow, so very interesting. So can I have a motion, please, Councilor Rossman?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Rowland, that PD report number 09-2025 be received for information. And then all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff, excuse me, for further consideration in a future report to council on the disposition of this matter.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And Councilor Austin, you're up again for the bylaw.
I had a popular one. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Chili, that the following bylaws be read a first, second time. Bylaw number 3547-25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at this meeting held February 25th, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And Councilor Chili, please read me the bylaw, please.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Hauser, that bylaw number 3547-25 be read a third and final time, be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And Councilor Rowland, Jim, please.
Moved by myself, so by Councilor Ossner, that whereas business before this council planning board meeting has been concluded at 7:51 p.m. and be resolved as meeting adjourned.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you.
Sorry.
Don't you do an
That was a treat.